Welcome back to Overtime Heroics. I'm Mason Shatwell, and joining me today is the Cage Warriors lightweight champion, Mr. Joe McColgan. How are you doing, Joe?
Very well, thank you. Still hasn't settled in yet, or it still hasn't actually hit me yet. I've just been really busy with traveling back home and then getting straight back into work, so haven't really had time to actually think about it too much, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but hopefully one day it'll hit me.
I'm going to jump straight into it. Obviously, after the fight ended and you got announced as the champion, how did that feel?
Honestly, it was just surreal. Someone asked me this yesterday, and I just don't have the words to help me describe the feeling that I had. And I've tried to think about it, and I've tried to kind of put myself back in that moment, but I just can't, because it was like something I've never felt before. It was just kind of, I don't even have an analogy to help compare it. It's just probably one of the best feelings ever. It was just unbelievable. Really just unbelievable. And what made it even more special was, and the camera didn't pick up on it, was watching my corner celebrate. So I just, after getting the finish, and I walk over to the camera, but I can see my corner just going absolutely insane. Paul Hughes, Pat and Shando just going mental. And then whenever they come into the cage, it was just, probably actually whenever I think back about the fight and reflect on things later on, those are the memories that are gonna stick with me. Not even the fight, just the actual memories of the celebrations after, which is really cool.
What were your thoughts on Sadari as an opponent before stepping in there?
Before stepping in there, I didn't really have too many thoughts on Sadari. Obviously he's a champion, and he defended the belt. And anyone who defends the belt or wins the belt and defends it goes to the UFC. I don't think there's anyone who hasn't gone off the UFC after a successfully defending the belt. So I knew he was good. I didn't watch too much footage on him. I don't really tend to do that. I just let my coaches form a game plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I say game plan. There is no such thing as a game plan, because for me, I just go in there and I try and implement my style, and my style is very aggressive. Come forward with pressure, very tactical, but throwing with intent, forcing the person to shoot in underneath and get them into like a situation where they're not comfortable, and then the finish just naturally comes, and that's exactly what happened. So I had no thoughts on Sadari before or after the fight. It was just another opponent, and I'm just really happy that I was able to showcase my skills, because there's been times in the past where I just haven't, and that's my fault. But whenever I'm firing on all cylinders, whenever I'm in the zone, in the flow state, I don't think there's anybody on this planet that can beat me. And that's just, I'm not trying to project or kind of make myself seem better than what I am. I genuinely believe that if I can do my thing, then I'm a hard fight for anybody.
From what I can remember of the fight, he landed a couple of low blows. Did that affect you at all much during the fight?
Not at all. No. When you're an experienced veteran, my record doesn't show that, but you get hit in the balls and you're not telling the referee about it, and if you're not taking a 30-second break, then you're not playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of if they hurt or not. I have to let my opponent know that you've done something wrong. I have to let the referee know that he's done something wrong. And they didn't affect me, but my corner were really worried about it, because nobody actually knows this. But I think it was 5 weeks out. Yeah, 5 weeks out from the fight, I suffered by far the worst injury in my career. Probably there was a 24-hour period where I thought that I might never fight again. It was on the same night that they released the poster for the fight, and it was all announced. I was sitting in hospital overnight. They kept me in overnight. Basically, I took a groin shot. I wasn't wearing a ball guard, and I can't. So I got hit in the balls. It was during the first spar, the first round of our sparring, and I remember thinking, I actually laughed. I was like, "Fucking hell, Paddy, that was I was so clean. Like I can't believe you couldn't. If you tried to hit me in the balls, you couldn't hit me as clean as that. And as the spar went on, I just felt like this swelling, and then in between after the round, I kind of looked down because it felt really weird, and I can't even describe what I saw. Without being too graphic, it was as swollen. My balls were as swollen as they'd ever been. It was like a football, and I had to go straight to hospital. And the first doctor looked at me and was like, right, okay, we need to get this looked at immediately. A surgeon came down, and they were like kind of prepping me for surgery. And then they had to get in a urologist consultant who came in his own gear, so he'd obviously been called in, and then he had to contact his consultant to figure out what the plan of attack. But they kept me in overnight. I had to get my scans the next morning, but I was being starved, and I was being prepped for surgery basically, because like they might have thought that there was actual like severe damage. So that kind of 24-hour period was incredible. Like I couldn't walk for a week after that. But things started settling down after that week, and I was like, we didn't know if I was going to be able to fight or not because of the injury was that serious. Now I'm okay now. But for that 24-hour period, for the week after, it was pretty stressful. So I was kind of like a massive diversion there, but basically every time I got hit in the balls, my corner were thinking, Jesus Christ, I hope this isn't affecting Joe's head, because he obviously that's kind of like he's injured there, but it was completely fine. So yeah.
How did you envision getting the win against Sadari? Because obviously it was a submission. Did you envision knocking him out at all?
No, I never. It's like for me, like you hear fighters and they talk about I visualize with this shot or whatever. Like, and whenever I do think about whenever I was thinking about the fight, I could see my hand being raised, but I never really saw how I got my hand raised. I just felt like I just could see myself pressuring him a lot, and I said in an interview before, I was like, I could get the finish with strikes, or I could get the finish. A lot of my fights end with submission because guys are shooting in and they're panic shooting, and then they're leaving their neck, and then I'm just subbing them. So I wasn't surprised. Like I wouldn't say I wasn't surprised, but like it was. I didn't think that it would end like that. But I'm also not surprised that it did end like that because of how I was approaching the fight with my heavy pressure and things.
I want to go back to your title fight last year. Obviously, it was at the start of the pandemic in the March. Obviously, I think it was Cage Warriors' first show without fans at all, and it was obviously short notice against Mason Jones. After the fight, what did you take away from that? Because obviously it was a short notice fight, and you wasn't able to prepare as much as you would have.
Yeah, I definitely I learned a couple of good lessons, stuff that I've applied into my approach now that's really helped me. Like I suppose the first one is, whenever you go through something really difficult, whenever you do something similar after that, everything else, it all seems a bit easier. You have say you're in school and you have like a really hard exam, and then you're like, fucking hell, I don't know how I got through that, and then everything else, all the other exams just seem easy in comparison. And that's exactly what that's like for me. That fight, that whole week before the fight, the prep for the fight, everything was really difficult. I wasn't ready. The pressure, I've never felt anything like it, and it was nothing to do with Mason, because I've actually called Mason out after fights, and it was all to do with the fact that I was underprepared. I was fighting somebody who is aggressive on the front foot, and it would have been a hard style matchup, and it was over 5 rounds. I just did not think I was ready at all. I was consumed by the pressure, and so I said I'll never ever go and fight again if I'm not prepared. And so that's been my approach ever since. I've only accepted fights. I turned fights down. I turned the Agi Sadari fight down in March because I knew I wouldn't be prepared. And now that when I come in prepared, I've had a full camp. I feel so confident. I believe in myself, and I always compare it back to the Mason Jones fight and I think, Jesus, this is a breeze in comparison. And see even that mindset of having just being more comfortable and happier fight week and day of the fight and everything. It's just the benefits are insane because I'm rehydrating way better, I'm refueling way better because I'm less stressed, and like less stressed in the prep. I'm not tired out or anything. It's just, it's insane the benefits, and I feel like I've proven that. A lot of these guys, you hear them and they say, "Oh, like I learned this," but like I feel like these lessons are tangible. There's evidence for them. My last 2 fights, I performed out of my skin, and I've always explained why, and I feel like I'll continue this for my next fight. And yeah, it's just kind of, even if someone asks me for a short notice fight and it's a really good opportunity, if I'm not ready, I'm not taking it, and I don't care.
I know obviously Mason is in the UFC now, but do you see a potential rematch down the line with Mason?
Probably not, because I feel like his rise is gonna be exponential. I know he had, like, the first one was a loss, bros, fight of the night, very close, and then the next fight again was a DQ loss. But I mean, like, he destroyed the guy. He's given a really good account of himself in both fights, and you can hear it in the commentary. So I think that he's just going to keep getting higher ranked guys and higher ranked guys. I think he's going to run through them. So he's probably ahead of me. I don't know if I'll be able to catch up with him in the next couple of years or whatever. But it's just like, and he's in the lightweight division in a different organization, so I can't even think about fighting him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not in that organization yet, and there's no guarantee that I will ever be in that organization. I just need to keep focused on what I can control, and that's fighting for Cage Warriors and who I've got next.
100%. And I think I remember hearing on one of the commentary or Edith LaBelle saying that the next trilogy is in September, I believe. Are you looking to get onto that?
I'm not sure what the plans are. I haven't actually, on purpose, I haven't thought about what's next for me, because everything moves really fast, and like after fights, and sometimes you just need to sit back and enjoy things, and I'm trying to enjoy it, but I'm also like, I've got work is pretty crazy at the moment. So a lot of my focus is going to be on work over the next few weeks, and also, like, me and my wife bought a house which needs renovation, so we're still continuing to do that. So I have a lot of things outside of fighting that I need to focus on, because all my focus has been on fighting for the past 12 weeks. So I need to give that some attention. So fighting for me isn't even on my radar until I get a phone call from Graham or a phone call from my manager, or from Shando, my coach, to say what's next, and at that point I'll think about things.
100%. Obviously, this fight week I'm sure it would have felt different. Obviously, you had a full training camp. You were more prepared than the last title fight. But what was fight week like, obviously, being in the main event and having the camp to prepare for it?
Fight week was like, to be honest, like, fight week was pretty stressful. I was dying with a cold. Like, I still am all quite stuffed up at the moment. Just like from the Wednesday before, so about 10 days out, I just had to stop training because I was just absolutely, like, in bed with the cold. Felt rough, rotten, and then had to start cutting calories, and like I couldn't get ahead of the cold. I couldn't recover from it really. So I was on all sorts of painkillers and stuff to try and, like, get over it. So it was quite stressful, because I was like, oh Jesus, is this going to affect my performance over the rounds? I was confused whether I was actually sick or it was just the calories. But as the week as the day started getting closer to the actual fight, I started to feel more normal again. Like, not normal as in like healthy, as in normal as in like I'm suffering because have so few calories in my body here. Like, it started to feel more like a normal weight cut, and it was almost like the closer I got to the fight, all the shackles, all the stress was kind of I was leaving it behind, and I started getting more into the zone, more tunnel vision, and it was just that kind of all the work. It was just a combination of all the hard work and everything. Just kind of, I was just peaking mentally, physically, all at the right time, going through all the different hardships that you have in camp, just all for that one moment. And it just felt like it was right. The closer I got to the fight, I started getting closer and closer into that flow state, and warming up out the back. Like, I didn't do fuck all out the back, actually. Really just banged a couple of pads with my coach, moved around a bit, and yeah, I was just ready to go.
How was the weight cut for this one?
Piss easy. They're all piss easy now. I used to be it used to be a big thing for me, a big stress, because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I really didn't. I work with my nutritionist now, Adam, and we just have a plan, and we've implemented this. We've been working for like about 3 or 4 years, and it's kind of like trial and error. You kind of think like everybody's different, so there's not one system that works for everybody. Everybody has a different body that reacts differently to different techniques and strategies, and it's up to that person to figure out what works best for them. So we've been doing that over the past 4 years. We've been tweaking things. Sometimes weight hasn't gone too well. Sometimes it's gone brilliantly. And we've got a perfect recipe now. I fuel my body the whole way through camp, which is something I never did before. I was like very little carbs, and now like my most of my calories are based on carbs, and then that means that I'm training harder, I'm shredding more fat, so I'm actually coming into fight week probably about the same weight, maybe a wee bit heavier than what I normally would, but I'm coming in like loaded with carbs, full of carbs. And then I just start tapering off, and the weight just starts flying off me, and then I start taking out the sodium, and there's very little. I had on Thursday night, so the night before I start my cut, I'm weighing in on Friday morning. I was 10.2 pounds over, so that's 4.6 kilos over, and I had to get that cut out through sweating, and it's no problem. Like, I just like I run for a wee bit, then I do a bath, and then sit in towels for about an hour, and then I make up like a wee 100-gram thing of blueberries, manuka honey, and pineapple. It's just like 100 grams, but there's packed full of carbs, and that helps me go to sleep at night, and then also starts the carb reload. I'm actually started refueling my body at that point. And then the next morning, same again. I did 2 baths and two towel sessions, and then I was on weight, lay down for half an hour just to calm myself and recover a wee bit, cool down, and then I walk onto those scales healthy and motivated and in my opponent's face and ready to go. That the fight starts then, and so it was really easy actually. I always think, fuck, I can probably make featherweight. It goes that well, but obviously I couldn't make featherweight.
Well, after the weight cut's over and the fight's over as well, what's the first thing that you like to enjoy without having to think about calories?
Oh, good question. Well, we had me and my coaches went back, and we ordered pizza and a couple of beers, and we watched the fight back, and then we went back to bed because my teammate Kieran, he was fighting the next morning, and me and Kieran were staying in the same room, so obviously we can't celebrate fully until we both get the W. So I just went back to bed, turned off the light, and tried to get a bit of sleep. And then the next morning we got up and we worked with Kieran, got his warm up done, had breakfast, and then went and he got the W, and then we flew back home. I haven't really, like as I said at the start, I haven't really had a chance to celebrate. It's just been busy, but maybe I'll celebrate this weekend. But I have been eating loads of shite, really. Like McDonald's, pizza. Like I've had pizza four nights in a row. Actually, I'm disgusting.
You've earned it, man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll go for a run after this here. So I'll do a 10K. I haven't trained because my shins have been really sore. My feet have been really sore as well. Like I haven't really. I didn't take damage. I just inflicted damage on myself in the fight by kicking him. So those things have kind of settled a bit now that I can actually start training again. So I'll go for a 10K today, and then I'll just do 10Ks now for the next week or so, and some swims, just to keep exercising, and because like if you sit down and you're just eating shite all the time, you'll feel like shite. So just like to stay healthy.
I think it was on your Instagram that I seen, but obviously when you got back home and you went back to the gym and you was announced, what was that moment like when all your teammates there?
Oh, it was amazing. I was a wee bit awkward actually, because I'm always awkward about things like that. But it was just unbelievable. Like, and we're so lucky to have I'm so lucky to have a team that we all support each other like that. This isn't an individual sport. It may look like an individual sport. One person goes in there and fights, but it's a team sport. That team brings you to that cage. That team's with you in the fight. Without them, you're nothing. So I think we all know that in Fight Academy Ireland, and it's kind of drilled in this from the top down, from the coaches right down to the beginners, and you could see the results. Like, and that's just not for me. That's for any man from our gym, any man or woman that reaches those heights. And I can't. We've had a champion before. We had a couple of champions before, but I felt like this one was different. Our club is different now. For the past couple of years, we've gone through a transformation. and we're kind of established ourselves as one of the best gyms in the UK. There's a whole charge of guys behind me, from amateur through to pro, that can be and will be world champions. So I'm just kind of like, not, Eddie McGregor says he kicked the door in. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, when you see someone who you train with day in, day out, attaining something, it sets out a roadmap for you to do that, and it makes it seem more realistic. So hopefully that has clicked for the guys in our gym, that we have the facilities, we have the coaching, we have the skills, and we have the teammates to get us to these things. And hopefully, like I said, I believe in my teammates that we'll have more champions. So, and hopefully it'll come this year, especially with Paul Hughes. And then next year we got Matthew Elliott, Callum McColgan, a whole charge of guys at amateur coming through, the McCormicks, like Paddy Henderson, like so many guys, like, probably forgetting those names, but there's guys that I don't even like sparring anymore, and they're still amateur. So yeah, I got this will be the first of many.
I've just got a couple more before I let you go. Obviously, you've said you don't know what's next, but is there any names in mind that could be next? Could there be a rematch with Sadari or a new challenger?
Well, I don't think Sadari would want to rematch me. It's like 10 times out of 10 I'll beat him. I can't see him. I don't see how he could beat me. I don't really see how anyone could beat me in that division, to be honest with you. I would have to take it on short notice against somebody. I'll come in underprepared. I feel like I'm, who's calling me out? I seen, like, whenever there's a champion, I remember when Fishgold won the belt. I was only like, I only had my first fight in Cage Warriors and lost the split decision. I was like on Twitter calling them out, going, I'll definitely fight you. When Soren Bach was the title holder, I was calling him out, messaging him, like, I made it public that I wanted to fight these guys, even though I probably wasn't ready. But I won the belt, and it was like a pin drop. So I don't, like, the only person that's really there is Mehdi on his old fan base, and he's probably. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, it could be the UFC next. Who knows? I don't know. It's all out of my control.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. We'll see what Graham says.
Before I let you go, is there any shout-out sponsors that you want to sign off with?
Obviously, thanks to everyone on my team at Fight Academy Ireland. If you're looking for a gym and you think you have what it takes to step into the cage, then absolutely, like, there's no gym in Northern Ireland, no better gym than Fight Academy Ireland. So, and we hold beginner classes, so definitely get up. And then obviously my sponsors, Apex Fightwear, really good gear there, and Slim's Kitchen. I don't really have two sponsors, and Slim's, like, they've been feeding me for the past 3 years. Managing full-time work and full-time training is next to impossible. So the help that Slim's give me, like, I don't need to worry about food or prep or anything like that. That's just there, delivered to my doorstep, and it's just like I couldn't do it without them. So thanks to those guys, and then obviously, like, my coaches, Pat Shando, Adam on the nutrition, and Donna on the boxing. So just all the boys. Once again, like, I'll reiterate this: it's a team effort, and we won as a team.
And finally, how can people find yourself on social media?
On Twitter and Instagram. I don't even know what the names are. I'm shit with this. Yeah, just Joe McColgan, I think it is. Joe McColgan _ maybe on both Instagram and Twitter. Well, not that I post that much anyway, but sure.
Well, Joe, it's been a pleasure, and again, congrats on winning that belt. You deserved it.
Thanks very much, Mason. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I'll be sure to catch up with you again some point.